It's a Sunday afternoon, you just got off work, and you're thinking about watching some anime. You look through a selection online, and you're thinking of watching that new shonen series everyone's talking about. As you watch, you see a pink-haired high schooler messing around with his friends, and he's super strong, and you start to think you know where the story is going. Spoilers, you don't.
I woke up one morning, strangers say hello to me. Tomorrow they name full, they come on the stone. We're going home, but I'm a terrible liar. Forgive me, that's not the art of betrayal. For the sake of the day, keep crying out. Swing the soul, swing the soul, swing the freaking soul down. Hellfire, hellfire, bring your buster.
Jujutsu Kaisen is the most popular new-gen shonen series. Even if you live under a rock, you've heard of it. Even if you don't read it or have not even watched it, you're caught up on the current chapter. You know what happens every week if you're on any sort of social media. Jujutsu Kaisen's popularity can't be overstated. But what about this series makes it so talked about? Jujutsu Kaisen is every shonen fan's wet dream when it comes to its fights. Of course, it's not just that. Jujutsu Kaisen's story is also pretty nice. Yuta Okkotsu is introduced as an average kid. He loves being with his childhood friend Rika Orimoto. They were also so close, they even promised to get married when they were older. One day, as they were heading home from school, a terrible incident happened. After Rika's passing, Yuta becomes a recluse. In part because of his grief, but also because of something that happened due to Rika's death. Yuta becomes cursed. Within the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, the idea of spirits is real. Humanity's collective negative emotions create spirits. These are known as cursed spirits. A fear of dying in the forest, a fear of volcanic eruptions, even the fear of other humans can manifest as cursed spirits. Within this world, humans who can control this energy are called Jujutsu sorcerers. They are the ones tasked with the duty of exorcising these malevolent spirits. After the death of Rika Orimoto, Yuta Okkotsu is cursed, and Rika's spirit haunts him. Anyone who does him harm is killed, and all he can do is watch. Even attempts to end his own life are stopped by Rika's spirit, and so he hides away. He shuns any form of connection, believing himself to be a ticking time bomb. When Yuta is at his lowest, he's invited to a school that teaches people with the potential on how to be a Jujutsu sorcerer, and thus, Yuta's journey to becoming a sorcerer begins. To be honest, joining a school and being given the ultimatum of execution or education is a little crazy, so it doesn't really seem like a choice. However, from the perspective of a suicidal Yuta, I see that the fact that he even joins the school kind of makes you realize how starved he is for connection. Maybe he thinks if he can learn to control his powers, he can be normal again, socialize with others, create connections and bonds, move forward in life. At least that's how I view Yuta's thought process. At this school, Yuta befriends his classmates and we see him genuinely open up and begin to enjoy life again. That's when it all comes crashing down. Suguru Geto, one of the strongest modern sorcerers, second only to Gojo Satoru. Geto is someone who, after realizing the evils of humanity, wishes to rid the world of those who cannot control their cursed energy. By culling them, no curses will be born, freeing people's residual negative emotions. A perfect world in his mind, paved on the blood of countless innocents. It's during Yuta's studies at Jujutsu Tech, Geto launches a war against the sorcery world. He plans to take the cursed spirit Rika Orimoto in order to fulfill his plans with her immense strength. Yuta doesn't try to understand Geto's plan. To him, it's enough to know he plans to harm the people he cares about, and their battle ensues. It's during this battle, as Yuta realizes he doesn't have enough strength to beat Geto, he decides to make a sacrifice. Yuta gives a kiss to Rika as he declares he'll give his life. All he needs is her help one last time in beating Geto. And after their clash, Geto is dead, and Yuta's curse is broken. Instead of forfeiting his life, Gojo goes on to explain he was the one who cursed Rika Orimoto to become a spirit. His immense cursed energy and grief led him to unknowingly tying her to the realm of the living. Yuta breaks down once he realizes his selfish desires led to the person he loves to suffer. However, Rika forgives him and tells him she was happy to spend more time with him. This moment marks when Yuta's curse changes into a blessing. He realizes that he was always loved, even when he felt alone that Rika was there, and this is what I believe Yuta Okkotsu's strength is. He fights only for others, using his love as the source for his immense power. When we were first introduced to him, he didn't ever think he could ever be useful to others. Now, he does everything he can to help the people who need it. Yuta's story is the archetype archetypal rise of a shonen protagonist. He overcomes his own suffering to use his strength to protect the people he cares about. His curse becomes recontextualized as a blessing, and Yuta walks forward to carry the burden of his comrades. Yuta is a distant cousin to Gojo Satoru, the most talented and powerful sorcerer of the modern era. Yuta's strength is only directly behind his, a special grade sorcerer after only a year of study. Yuta is an enigma. He has learned RCT as well as domain expansion with more cursed energy than even Gojo. Yuta is a prodigy in every sense of the word. However, there lies another, with strength that is even greater, and what powers him is only greed. Ryomen Sukuna. If you keep up with the series even a little bit, not much needs to be said. Over 1,000 years ago, in a period known as the Heian era in Japan, Ryomen Sukuna reigned supreme as a malevolent god. A cursed spirit with such overwhelming strength, despite the Heian era being considered by all the golden age of Jujutsu, he alone reigned supreme. Despite efforts to exorcise him, Sukuna was unbeatable. Two-faced in 4 arms, Sukuna's form is inhuman. As stated in the manga, a body perfectly made for sorcery. Sukuna only believes strength is the most important thing in life. That a society has failed if it uses any metric other than strength for rule. It makes sense that those from his era dubbed him the King of Curses. Sukuna doesn't care for love or people. Emotions are worthless, just as seeking to connect with people is. All Sukuna wants is an interesting fight now and again and some good food. Others only exist to entertain his depraved way of life, and the one person we know to be close to him, Urame, is more of a chef/servant. Sukuna grew bored and sought a greater challenge through the help of a sorcerer by the name of Kinjaku. Sukuna divides his soul into 20 pieces and places them each into one of his fingers, a form of immortality as no sorcerer is able to destroy the fingers. He now waits sealed for another era to topple. And now within the modern era, Sukuna seeks entertainment through another slaughter. As Sukuna slaughters more people in the modern era, we see more of his rationale. Sukuna is not like other curses. He doesn't desire slaughter for any specified vendetta. He is simply a natural disaster. He doesn't seek to be understood or have a grand plan. Strong opponents are grindstones and weak people are entertainment or food. It is Sukuna's selfishness that I see as the narrative antithesis to Yuta's selflessness. Sukuna's character is simple, but that is what makes him so compelling as a villain, because it's so well defined. From the start of the series, we get a gist of who Sukuna is, and it's terrifying. Sukuna's very mood dictates the tone of the series, as many beloved characters' lives hinge on this singular character's enjoyment of what they can offer. The shadow of Sukuna looms just as far in the modern era as it did thousands of years ago. It was mentioned by another sorcerer from the Heian era that to transcend being strong, an overwhelming sense of self needs to be cultivated. This statement was targeted towards Yuta, in a way trying to tell him that there was another above him, that he was strong, but nowhere near the strongest. Of course, being from an era with Sukuna, it's easy to see why it was said. There has always been this theme of selfishness within the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, and it always seems to correlate to making characters stronger. As much as the series shows how far cooperation can take you, ultimately this world is ruled by individual might. Both Sukuna and Gojo's characters represent this, two of the strongest from their respective era, so far above others. This idea that singular might, maybe once in a generation, can be so far above that even if others were to come together, they could not hope to match them. It creates this isolation for these characters. But as Gojo seeks to create a bridge for others to him, Sukuna seeks to cull all those around him. So where does Yuta fall into this? Yuta, in my eyes, is the last person in the story, narratively, that can show the strength of connections to Sukuna, as much as other people may want to say Itadori can as well. The story to this point is at a breaking point. Kashima and Gojo stood as Sukuna's rebuttal to connection, that it is foolish and all that matters is self. Kashimo, the strongest of his respective era, Gojo as well, and Sukuna. The fact they perished to him only further solidifies his stance. Absolute strength is meant to be admired and not understood. The question their fight seeks to answer, Yuta versus Sukuna, is a clash of their ideals. Sukuna's defeat will only cement individual might to not be infallible. However, if Yuta is defeated, it'll show that no matter how many ants crawl together, they'll still be stomped by a singularly stronger foe. Personally, I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen is a story where an understanding could be met, where Yuta will be the one to defeat Sukuna, showing him that his way of life is incorrect. Instead, I think Yuta will lose, but another will rise. Yuji Itadori will show what he was made for, a self-stated cog within a machine, built to only exercise curses. Yuta fans, I want you to put down the pitchforks. I do not dislike Yuta. I am not a Sukuna follower. That is not why I'm saying any of this. It's just genuinely, as I've been keeping up week to week and reading JJK, I do not see the narrative end of Sukuna's story through Yeah, man, connections are where it's at. Teehee. That's just not the kind of story that it is. And talking further on the idea of connections not being able to be something that Itadori can show, I genuinely do think that Itadori isn't somebody who is seeking to understand or create a bridge of connection to Sukuna. He just wants to kill him. He just wants to fulfill his purpose as being a cog within the Jujutsu sorcery system. Those are my thoughts. Tell me below, who do you think will win? Am I just completely wrong? Is Yuta truly him? Is Yuji not the MC? What are some aspects you thought I've missed? I'd love to hear your thoughts below. If you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to leave a like and sub. Thank you all for 100 subscribers. Thank you again. It's been like overwhelming seeing all the support on the free run video. This has been Aaron from Newborn Reviews.